Okay, I'm back. Sorry, I apparently was talking for too long, and I'm not supposed to have more than a 15-minute podcast. But so we're going to wrap up this last little segment for the April 3rd um, podcast. And remember, when you get back together on April 5th as a group, you're meant to share and work together as teams to both process the information from all the videos that you watched and the resources that you've already accessed earlier. But then also, I really just want you to debate and talk with each other about this, all right, about what your system might be looking like. So, where we left off last time was that we were talking through, I'm working backwards here, talking through academic achievement, academic improvement, and non-academic conditions that we might want to report out on. Okay, so those are Guskey's product, progress, and process. And so really the next step in there, you can go one of two directions. You can either start to consider what skills you're interested in, which are over there, okay? Or you can go to the second column and look at what might make up each of those things. So if I'm thinking about reporting out academic achievement or my product grade, what would be the things that I want to contribute to that grade? Maybe I want to have only summative assessments, and maybe my summative assessments would range from final exams to presentations and projects or labs or personal communication interviews and things like that. So maybe for my academic achievement product grade, I might say that I will only include these types of assessments with the purpose of them being summative. And that students have an opportunity to utilize their interim assessments, such as quizzes or mini projects, so that if they can show me mastery on those, then those will turn into their grade and they don't need to have an additional summative assessment. We can just relabel the purpose of those interim assessments to be summative. Okay, so maybe you're a teacher that wants to put numbers on things, and so you might say the final exam is 40% of your grade. The three big projects are 60% of your grade, and that's it. And that's fine. You get to make that decision. You have the teacher autonomy to do that. The next piece, if you were also including a process grade, then in that process grade would be where you would include things like neatness, effort, behavior, punctuality. So that means that, on your rubrics, I wouldn't see points for how pretty it looks or how neat it is. Those points would only contribute to your process grade, not to your product grade. So one of the things that happens by being very intentional with the way we grade is we now all of a sudden get much clearer, accurate representations of learning. So, the kid that does a really neat, organized poster, but their information is inaccurate, they would have a great process grade, but a very poor product grade. Again, also think at this time, how do you want to handle redos, retakes, late work, missing assignments, and zeros? That also plays a part in this. So you need to have steps or guidelines or procedures for how you want to take up those practices or alleviate some of those poor practices in your classroom. Okay, so all of this is part of your complex system. Okay, and I say right in here, might get messy. You can look in your blue packet for some additional resources and tools. And the last part of this is that it's not just about crafting a clear system, which is what these first three columns do. It's also about then communicating or reporting that out. And reporting grades and reporting student learning doesn't just happen on report cards. That is usually the final and last place that it happens, but it's definitely not the only place that it happens. So part of this rubric or part of this profile is spending a substantial amount of time thinking about your communication. So the communication can be at parent-teacher conferences, they can be in emails, they can be in progress reports, and all of these other things. And in fact, in the Gusky handout, he tells us over 15 ways that we can communicate and report to all different stakeholders, parents, students, administrators, other teachers, part of your professional learning communities that are looking at data with you. We can report out student learning in all of these different ways, and that we would be doing the students a disservice and the parents a disservice if the only time that we ever reported student learning was on the report card at the end. So take into serious consideration these other ways to communicate student learning. And this is something that is fluid and flexible and happening all the time. So I want you to be intentional about building this, and this is going to help you think about your communication plan, which is part of your profile rubric. All right, so I hope this was helpful. When we get back together, we'll start to flesh out what this system looks like, but you should have a pretty well-crafted, well-drafted, comprehensive system that includes all this kind of thinking that's grounded in the research. And remember, you can choose bits and pieces. You don't have to go standard-based grading all the way or traditional all the way. You'll pick bits and pieces from in between, but we want to address all of these things. Okay, I hope this was helpful, and I hope it wasn't too confusing, but remember, we're going to have this discourse and we're going to have these complicated conversations prior to it all magically making sense, and you are leaps and bounds above and beyond other novice teachers coming in right now, because almost nobody else has this foundational research and these best practices coming in as a new teacher. Oftentimes teachers don't get this learning until they're in their master's programs or until their district decides to invest in quality professional development. So I hope it's helpful to you, and I hope you liked our podcast. And that's it. I will see you in a week. Thanks.